YouTube channel Nos Confunden. Imagine for a moment that ancient texts, those written in forgotten languages, spoke of the oceans above as hidden realms beyond the visible skies, accessible only to those who could transmute themselves and transcend the illusion projected upon our reality. In ancient grimoires and esoteric treatises, there is mention of a vast ocean of ethereal waters that lies above the dome, forming the boundary of true reality, a barrier of living water that protects the upper lands and shapes the dome's projections. Nos Confunden. This ocean was known in Babylonian scriptures as the Apsu, referring to the primordial waters of creation. To the alchemists and sages of old, these waters were not merely abstract concepts. They were a sea of consciousness, in whose movements the patterns of reality itself were reflected, creating resonances and projections that formed what we perceive as the sky, stars, and celestial bodies. Sumerian tablets and hermetic texts describe this ocean as the Mar Coelum, the Sea of Heaven, a vast expanse of unfathomable waters representing the upper boundary of the known and the mirror of eternity. Nos Confunden. In ancient Jewish texts, like the Zohar, there is mention of Mayim Elyonim, the upper waters, separated from the lower ones at the beginning of creation, forming a veil that cannot be penetrated except through an inner awakening and expansion of perception. These oceans above, described as ethereal and celestial, feed the projections we see upon the dome, acting as an invisible mirror that displays before our eyes the reflections of a greater reality. Nos Confunden. Ancient Gnostic texts, especially the Gospel of the Egyptians, refer to this ocean as the Great Depth or Abyssos, an eternal sea from which the primordial forces that shape each world emanate. According to these sources, the dome is merely a shell within an even larger sea, which some called the Mare Internum, whose waters separate dimensions and constitute the boundary between the known lands and the elevated spheres. Nos Confunden. Hermetic and Kabbalistic texts, when referring to these waters, indicated that to cross this ocean above, it was necessary to enter a state of lumen Dei, or divine light, in which the human soul could dissolve its attachment to materiality, achieving a resonance with the frequency of the upper waters. In the Corpus Hermeticum, it is stated that the waters cannot be navigated by those with feet of lead, but only by those who have become light, suggesting that only through the alchemy of being and the abandonment of the material ego can one comprehend the essence of what lies beyond the dome. In ancient Vedic civilizations, the concept of Mahapralaya, the final dissolution of all worlds into the primordial waters, relates these upper waters to the cycle of universal rebirth and destruction. The Vedic sages perceive these waters not as an end, but as the place where consciousness returns after each life cycle, a fusion with the ocean above that marks the rebirth of everything. In some of these texts, it is mentioned that Svarga, or the heaven of the gods, was merely a stage before reaching the supreme waters beyond the dome, where the true knowledge of the soul resided. YouTube channel Nos Confunden. The oceans above, according to alchemists and hermetic philosophers, reflect the concept of aqua vitae, or water of life, an element containing the principle of all things and their end as well. Those who could navigate these waters, a process compared in alchemical texts to the quest for the philosopher's stone, could break the illusory veil of matter and access higher dimensions where knowledge and existence itself are revealed as pure states of being. Thus, the oceans above become the ultimate threshold, the impassable boundary of the dome and the visible world. According to some of the oldest and most hidden texts, these oceans are not only a barrier, but a reflection of the consciousness of those who dwell beneath the dome. For this reason, in order to access what lies beyond, one must transcend not only physically, but also purify the spirit and thought, aligning them with the pattern of the upper waters. The ancient sages affirmed that ultimately, these waters were a manifestation of the collective mind, a mirror of our own limitations and desires. Nos confunden. Thus, in the end, the oceans above represent both a barrier and a promise, the barrier that confines us within the world dome, and the promise that, once transmuted, we could finally return to that primordial source from which all things spring. YouTube channel Nos Confunden.